What's up, cool people? My name is Matt, aka That Random Christian Gamer, and welcome to tonight's live stream. So, for this evening, we will be continuing our Bible study in the book of Job, with chapters 19 and 20. We'll hear Job's response to Bildad's second comment, or second set of comments, I guess you'd say, and then his one other friend, Zophar, is going to have something to say after Job's response to Bildad. But then after that, just going to kind of hang around and see what we get into in Slay the Spire. Odds are it's going to be a customized run of some sort. I'm not sure what kind yet. Normally, I don't even end up setting the different modifiers. So, yeah, anyway. Not too much else to say. I will just put this out there up front. There's a bit of a chance moving forward that I may end up needing to put in some time at work on some occasional Fridays. I mean, that was always sort of a possibility, but lately it's been sort of an outside chance until just like this week, because we've established at work that maybe we want to take an inventory of some certain parts in a different way that would require or potentially require the whole coming in on Friday thing. But no clue if and when that might happen. Just putting it out there as a point of reference. So that could potentially mess with the timing, at least, of typical Friday streams moving forward. Anyway, yeah, don't really have too much else in the way of like any updates or things like that. Hello, Seth. Appreciate the lurk. Yeah, speaking of things I appreciate, 3 days ago, we got a follow on Twitch from Mama Cat Gamer. And I especially find it interesting when people follow, like, not from a raid or anything like that. And especially when I'm, like, not even live or anything. So that means they found the channel some other way. And it's always nice to know that that's a thing that happens sometimes. Because honestly, especially on a live stream focused platform like Twitch, you're never really sure who comes across your stuff when you're not live and how often. But anyway, okay. I think that's about all I've got as far as introductions here. So I'll go ahead, speaking of Twitch, run the early set of ads there, and then we will hop into the Bible study. And there we go. I clicked the thing. Still never delays anywhere near as much as when I don't initiate the ad breaks myself. No idea why that's the case. It just is. So, okay, Bible scene is up and ready to go. Random just note about my day. There was pizza brought in for lunch at work, and I ate quite a lot there. Had a smaller dinner when I came back, but still, I don't know if it's primarily because of that or what, but I feel more tired than I should given how much sleep I got last night. Oh well. Things happen. Sometimes you're just tired. Now, all the brain processes that I've had to do this week, it could give me an excuse if I wanted to, but like, I don't know if it was really that much worse than like last week. Anyway, okay. We should be done with the ad break, which means it is time to get into the Bible study. So we're looking at Job chapter 19. Job's been talking back and forth with his friends about his just like terrible situation that has befallen him simply because a dude called Satan wanted to test Job because God brought him up as a really good example of someone who was faithful and righteous. So, yeah, the back and forth has essentially boiled down to Job crying out to God, wishing things were different, and then Job's friends being all like, well, you must have done something wrong. Otherwise, God wouldn't be punishing you like this. Anyway, Christian Ninja, hey, welcome. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, Job is just where I'm at in my, like, I've been going through the Bible start to finish, and Job is just where I am. And yes, it is deep. It is, it's not exactly a happy-go-lucky book of the Bible by any stretch. And there's a lot of, like, it's also, in a ways, distinctly human. In that, like, you know, Job talking about his own suffering and, like, other people wanting to simplify it, but Job still continuing to get into the deeper, intricate details of the matter. That really has been a lot of my takeaway from reading Job so far, is that Job's friends want to make it cut and dry, black and white, like, wicked people are treated like this, good people get this from God. And Job's like, no, I haven't done anything in particular wrong. God, I don't know why God is doing this, but he is. And yeah, so that's been kind of the main discussion, debate, if you will, between Job and his friends. But yeah, it's very much a bummer, as Christian Ninja's saying, because Job is, I mean, he has, like, nothing at this point. He lost all of his possessions because of the test from Satan, and he has also been afflicted with boils. He, in his own words, has, like, disturbing visions that keep him up all the time. And, of course, on top of that, he's got to deal with his friends and potentially other people around him just constantly ridiculing him. So, yeah, we are definitely not to where God himself enters the conversation. I still got, like, 19, 20-ish more chapters to go before that. So, yeah, last chapter, the one friend, Bildad, just went on about, gave, like, no response, really, to anything in particular that Job said. That's been kind of a trend with his friends as well, is that they just spit their theology and don't really dig into what Job himself is going through and or what he's saying very much. I mean, Eliphaz has done that a little bit. Bildad and Zophar, not so much. So, anyway, Job here is about to respond to what Bildad just said. And that brings us here to Job chapter 19. So, I believe we have a sufficient introduction to the chapter. So here we go. Job chapter 19. Then Job spoke again. How long will you torture me? How long will you try to crush me with your words? You have already insulted me 10 times. You should be ashamed of treating me so badly. Even if I have sinned, that is my concern, not yours. You think you're better than I am, using my humiliation as evidence of my sin. But it is God who has wronged me, capturing me in his net. I cry out, help, but no one answers me. I protest, but there is no justice. God has blocked my way so I cannot move. He has plunged my path into darkness. He has stripped me of my honor and removed the crown from my head. He has demolished me on every side, and I am finished. He has uprooted my hope like a fallen tree. His fury burns against me. He counts me as an enemy. His troops advance. They build up roads to attack me. They camp all around my tent. Okay, gonna pause there for a bit. Yeah. The first bit in most of the recent chapters, if it's from Job, has pretty much been saying, like, it's something very similar to what he's saying here. It's like, how long are you going to keep just, insulting me or making assumptions about me or, insert similar thought there. And I think really both, Job and his friends have, for the past handful of chapters, have gotten into some sort of, like, how long will you, whatever, and sometimes even directly saying, like, how long are you going to keep talking? Or is saying that the other person is just using empty words. So, yeah, I think they're all kind of sick of hearing each other, but none of them want to give up the ghost, so to speak. None of them really wants to concede and let the other think that they're in the wrong. But, now, Job says he has already been insulted 10 times, perhaps specifically by Bildad, but, like, I don't know if it would really... What exactly is he considering different insults? I'm not sure. So, still, the details aren't what's important here. It's more so just the overall idea of, like, yeah, so, as Christian Ninja has pointed out, at least originally, their purpose was to try to help Job. They still might think that they're trying to help Job, but they're convinced that he sinned and that they need to, get his mind, or help him get his mind right by telling him what's what. But Job knows that he is innocent in this. He doesn't know necessarily that he's just being tested, but he knows that he's innocent. And so he has to keep coming back to defend himself and say, no, I am not one of these wicked people that y'all keep talking about. But, yeah, again, the point isn't the specific numbers, especially in what Job's saying, because this second paragraph here is very much metaphor. Like, God is not literally setting up troops and, like, attacking Job physically. Now, demolished on every... I mean, certainly some of his, possessions have been demolished on every side. He himself also, like, again, metaphorically, very much, like, has been brought to... I mean, he previously talked about his flesh being gaunt, or, like, a bunch of descriptors that basically paint a picture of him, like, withering away. Again, my mind goes to Disney's animated Hercules, where Herc jumps into the pool of dead people and starts to, like, shrivel up and look real old really quickly. Other than maybe the looking old part, the shriveled kind of idea is the image that I get of what has become of Job. Because, again, lost everything, boils, disturbing visions that probably keep him from sleeping, and the lack of sleep might ruin his appetite. And never mind the fact that he doesn't really have much, if anything, to eat, because he's lost practically everything. So yeah, anyway. Job is simply describing metaphorically how it feels he is being assaulted by God. There's a note here from the translators in verse 6 before we move along. I am going to assume this just applies to the second line there. But it could say something more like, "For I am like a city under siege," I guess, instead of saying that God captured him in his net. There's similar ideas, in a way, between those two images. Anyway, like, if you're trapped in a net, you can't go anywhere. If a city is under siege, nobody can really go anywhere to get the stuff that they might want from outside the city. So, yeah, Job is feeling rather stuck in his situation. So, I will move along here to verse 13. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this is going to be more kind of metaphors and symbolism for how he feels like God is attacking him, for lack of a better word. But let's see what else he says. Verse 13. My relatives stay far away, and my friends have turned against me. My family is gone, and my close friends have forgotten me. My servants and maids consider me a stranger. I am like a foreigner to them. When I call my servant, he doesn't come. I have to plead with him. My breath is repulsive to my wife. I am rejected by my own family. Even young children despise me. When I stand to speak, they turn their backs on me. My close friends detest me. Those I loved have turned against me. I have been reduced to skin and bones, and have escaped death by the skin of my teeth. Okay, so this actually sounds a lot more literal. Now, okay, he mentions being, like, rejected by his family. I suppose, that's family members other than the children that it outright said he lost in the sudden tragedies that were part of Satan's test. It only really mentioned him losing his children and probably a bunch of servants. Well, and as far as family members, that's all that it really mentioned was his children. So others, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, parents of his own, maybe. Anyway, I digress. So, yeah. Not only does Job feel like he has been brutally attacked by God, but he's also being pushed away and or insulted by all the people around him. And yeah, my close friends have forgotten me is an especially stinging line for Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, who were right there and specifically came to try and comfort him, at least at first. Yeah. Relatives stay far away. Family gone. Servants and maids consider him a stranger. Like... I'm sorry, my breath is repulsive to my wife. I find that line a little bit funny, just the image of it, but it definitely was noted that his wife is still alive. In fact, she specifically said to him in like chapter 2, I think, to curse God and die. But now, if he's really in such a bad physical state, it could actually be like the scent of his breath that would be repulsive to his wife. But she is probably overall repulsed just by his situation, given what she said before. Yeah. So, attacked by God, rejected by those close to him, reduced to skin and bones. Like, Job is not holding back on trying to communicate how terrible his situation feels. And yeah, to Christian Ninja's point, his wife saying curse God and die was probably her thinking that would actually be like a relief for him, because then he wouldn't have to continue suffering. If he cursed God, he might actually get struck down by God directly and then die and not have to suffer. Maybe is the thought process there. But as it is, he continues to suffer. Christian Ninja, appreciate the lurk. Okay. Moving on to verse 21, and I think I'll read through the rest of the chapter before sharing any other thoughts on those verses. Here we go. Have mercy on me, my friends. Have mercy, for the hand of God has struck me. Must you also persecute me like God does? Haven't you chewed me up enough? Oh, that my words could be recorded. Oh, that they could be inscribed on a monument, carved with an iron chisel and filled with lead, engraved forever in the rock. But as for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and he will stand upon the earth at last. And after my body has decayed, yet in my body I will see God. I will see him for myself. Yes, I will see him with my own eyes. I am overwhelmed at the thought. How dare you go on persecuting me, saying it's his own fault? You should fear punishment yourselves, for your attitude deserves punishment. Then you will know that there is indeed a judgment. Okay. I might have, like, specific thoughts for kind of each little section here. So, first off, he's basically saying, you know, after he's laid out how God is attacking him, and then how he's also being hurt further by his friends and family. He kind of says, okay, now that I've laid this out, please, friends of mine, can you just have mercy? Can you lay off the assaults to my character? Because I'm already getting it bad enough from God. And the thing about having his words recorded, I mean, they kind of are recorded, not chiseled on a rock necessarily, but we've got his words here. And I guess maybe the thinking there in Job's mind was, all right, I wish this were all documented so that in the future it can be known that I am innocent here, and or that I am being treated unfairly, at least by the people around me. Debatably also from God in his mind. And yet, despite how bad he describes his situation, he still comes back to the idea that he has a redeemer or advocate or mediator or something to that effect. Someone, seemingly a not human someone, that still could, like, you know, restore him. And again, whether or not it was an intentional kind of thing, some of the ways that he has described this mediator or redeemer kind of hint at some aspects of Jesus when he comes into the picture much later in the Bible. But they didn't really have a concept of Jesus per se then. They just... Yeah, I'm not quite sure what exactly their view of the Redeemer figure was, and or what they thought the origin of said Redeemer was. But still, from the current day Christian perspective, I'm like, that kind of hints at Jesus. And or maybe at least the Holy Spirit. So, like, he still, in a way, has some hope that when everything is all said and done, even if he dies from this terrible situation he's dealing with, he still has hope that he will see God, that, you know, he won't be, like, eternally forsaken and rejected. So, yeah, and then after all that, kind of directs some comments at his friends again, and says, like, well, he literally says, how dare you go on persecuting me, like, kind of highlighting, once again, the assumptions that they're making, that the suffering that he's going through is a punishment for some sin of his. But they don't know of anything in particular. They're just using the general notion of, pretty much everybody sins. Well, everybody does at some point to some extent. But they're basically taking that generalized idea of everybody sins, combined with the general idea that, in the end, wicked people who don't follow God do not have things go well for them. They're just using those general ideas to make assumptions about Job's situation. Like, general truths are not universally applicable to every situation. I mean, maybe with a few exceptions here and there. Just adding exception to my own generalization. Because that's how most things work. There's exceptions to nearly everything. And then he's like, yeah, your attitude with your continued assault of my character and just being really poor friends, your own attitude kind of deserves punishment. So maybe you should be worried about yourselves and your own thoughts and hearts and attitudes more than you're worried about me here and what you assume that I have done. So yeah, despite how terrible Job described things early on in the chapter, the end of his statements kind of still gives a glimmer of hope. Just wanted to make sure I catch this note here before we wrap things up. Could be, without my body, I will see God. Meaning of the Hebrew is uncertain. Yeah, so kind of combining ideas here, but, you know, there is an idea presented in the New Testament that, or at least in the New Testament, that, you know, we will have, some people call them perfected bodies when everything shakes down at, you know, the end of things as we know it and we step into eternity, so to speak. I mean, whether with or without his body, Job is still optimistic that he'll see God when it's all said and done. That's the main point. So, yeah. And his optimism is perhaps the only thing that keeps him going. And, oh, well, that and perhaps, I mean, it was noted that he had a little bit of fear of, like, dying and then kind of, like, being forgotten by God, but it's still, I don't know. He kind of goes back and forth a little bit, as someone in a terrible situation might do. Kind of have mood swings a little bit back and forth between hopeless and hopeful, sad and happy, and, like, you know, having no energy and you wanting to move on and be productive. Like, that's how people are sometimes when they're going through a tough situation. But yeah, that's all the thoughts that I have, at least, for Job chapter 19. And as far as covering a lot of ground, I mean, I'm not 100% sure how you mean that, but yeah, I'm generally not trying to sit here and, like, go extremely deep into one particular verse or passage, but I also still want to, like, you know, give some sort of thoughts, maybe context and or like, you know, possible reference points or relevant ideas at least in other parts of the Bible. Talking about, gotcha. Covering. Yeah. But, I don't know. As things seem like they could be relevant or they just pop up in my train of thought, that's... Yeah, I will admit, a lot of times I just am going along my own train of thought, not really like a specific outline of things that I have pre-planned to say. Okay. And that's just one of 2 chapters I'm covering tonight. So, I guess I'll move along to chapter 20 now. So, here we are, Job chapter 20. I think most people by this point in Job know the drill. Job and his friends have been talking back and forth. Job most recently has kind of gotten onto his friend's case a little bit. And saying how he... requesting at least that they sort of back off a little bit, because he's already having a hard enough time dealing with all this stuff that God has put in front of him, with, you know, the loss of his children and a lot, at least, of what he had possession-wise, and physically dealing with boils and, like, malnutrition, it seems. You know, definitely not in good health in probably at least a couple of different ways. And, you know, then on top of that, he's got to deal with insults from his friends and possibly other people around him. Like, really? To the people who might be listening, Job is like, okay, you all at least have control over your involvement in this. This other stuff is out of your control. Can you all at least back off some? Yeah. He has also previously called his friends that have been part of this discussion. He hasn't called them dumb per se, but he has stated that they are no smarter than him. And really, I mean, they've kept repeating a lot of the same talking points, so kind of understandable that he'd say that. Yeah. That, I think, is enough context to get us into chapter 20 here. Looks like we're going to hear once again from Zophar. So this will, I guess, wrap up the second round of hearing from Job's friends. So here we go. Job chapter 20. Then Zophar the Naamathite replied, I must reply because I am greatly disturbed. I've had to endure your insults, but now my spirit prompts me to reply. Don't you realize that from the beginning of time, ever since people were first placed on the earth, the triumph of the wicked has been short-lived, and the joy of the godless has been only temporary? Though the pride of the godless reaches to the heavens, and their heads touch the clouds, yet they will vanish forever, thrown away like their own dung. Those who knew them will ask, where are they? They will fade like a dream and not be found. They will vanish like a vision in the night. Those who once saw them will see them no more. Their families will never see them again. Their children will beg from the poor, for they must give back their stolen riches. Though they are young, their bones will lie in the dust. And once again, we have one of Job's friends talking about what happens to wicked people, or at least their assumptions of what happens to wicked people. Why do they bring this up so consistently? Probably because they think it applies to Job, and they're trying to, in their minds, set him straight. But this is where I once again emphasize the fact that they keep saying the same stuff. Job has at least kind of introduced some new things here and there, or at least not sat on the same talking point as much as his friends. Which is funny because he's been talking 3 times as much as each of them. Like, now, Zophar, I think, is really, giving us a little more insight into his actual motivation for replying with this line right here, where he's saying he's had to endure Job's insults. He feels insulted and thus kind of, hurt emotionally. And so now he feels like he's got to stick up for himself. Christian Ninja, appreciate the bits. I'm just doing what interests, but also kind of comes natural to me. And you could argue I'm doing God's work with the whole Bible study thing here too. But yeah, I appreciate your support. Yeah. Job's friends have even mentioned or questioned his knowledge of things from the beginning of time before. Of course, Job wasn't there when the earth was made and all this stuff first happened. He knows that. They're just kind of using that as a way to say that they seem to think that he thinks he's like, super wise and, knows more than them and is like trying to outsmart them. He's not really trying to outsmart them. He's just being genuine and honest about his own situation, about recognizing that there's some truth in what they say, at least generally speaking, but knowing that his own situation, as well as other situations, are sort of outliers to their generalizations. So, I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail on the specifics of what Zophar has said here, because a lot of it has been said before. So, I will instead move on to verse 12. He's still talking about wicked people, I guess, and their, temporary, good lives, or whatever you want to call that. Their temporary fortune. Anyway, okay. They enjoyed the sweet taste of wickedness, letting it melt under their tongue. They savored it, holding it long in their mouths. But suddenly the flood in their bellies turned sour. Sorry, the food. I read that as flood. Wow. But suddenly the food in their bellies turned sour, a poisonous venom in their stomach. They will vomit the wealth they swallowed. God won't let them keep it down. They will suck the poison of cobras. The viper will kill them. They will never again enjoy streams of olive oil or rivers of milk and honey. They will give back everything they worked for. Their wealth will bring them no joy. For they oppressed the poor and left them destitute. They foreclosed on their homes. They were always greedy and never satisfied. Nothing remains of all the things they dreamed about. Nothing is left after they finish gorging themselves. Therefore, their prosperity will not endure. Funny how he describes the rich, wicked people in some ways, especially in these last few verses of this, like, paragraph or whatever you want to call it. There's no way there are people today that those descriptions would apply to. No. Why would you think that? Anyway, let me not get too much on a tangent. But, yeah, so, like, when Job first brought up some of these outlying cases of wicked people, you know, living luxurious lives and basically getting kind of a sweet overall life, initially, okay, I think Eliphaz was the first to respond to that and say that their wealth, their luxury, their comfortable lives are only temporary. That's understandable for somebody out of the friend group to reply to that initially. But Zophar saying it now is nothing new. I think even the first time Zophar spoke up, the general gist of what he said was nothing new. Zophar in particular is, like, in my opinion, the worst of the three friends, or at least the worst arguer of the three friends, because he has brought up literally nothing new the entire time he has spoken. Yeah, he might describe it in a different way, but it's not a new concept. Yeah. And that's pretty much Zophar right here is, again, saying that, yeah, wicked people might be wealthy and live good lives for a while, but it's not going to last. Like other people have said before. That might even be the point, though. Put yourself in Job's place listening to this day after day. You're sick of reading it. Imagine what Job... Yeah, it's... Now, I would say, if I had any strength in me, which Job might not, if I had any strength in me, I would almost want to, like, you know, smack some of these friends upside the head. The point of us reading all of this could very well be to emphasize the fact that Job's friends were so terrible at comforting him just because they wanted to spit their theology, they wanted to be the ones in the right, and to an extent, they thought they needed to correct Job. And they kept insisting on that to the point where they were completely inflexible in their way of thinking. But, like, for Job in particular, I can sympathize with his, like, descriptions of how unhelpful his friends have been because of this. They keep hammering in the same points. They keep talking about what happens to wicked people with the implication that it applies to Job. Like, at first, they kind of gave a little room to say, okay, maybe this is how it is, maybe not. But, like, now they're just so stuck in argumentative defense mode that they're not willing to let go of their ideas and make it seem like they've lost the argument. How many of us today leap to quoting Bible verses when we see someone who's suffering? Yeah. That very much can apply to people today. In fact, I think a couple of chapters ago, I specifically pointed to an example of, conversations around homeless people and how similar our treatment and or our assumptions of them can be how similar that can be to how Job's friends viewed his situation. They assumed he was in the wrong because he was in a bad spot. And in their minds, God doesn't put people in bad spots if they're good people. Now, how many of us in this day and age actually use, scriptural backing for our assumptions about homeless people? But there are definitely a lot of Christians out there who like to try and Bible thump and, teach those around them theology more so than actually, speaking the truth in love. And I'll say it, even though I've said it in previous chapters, because it's still applicable. I keep having flashbacks to one of my theology classes in college where, there was a particular question on, a quiz or something that so many people in the class were graded horribly on because really it was more of a, all right, how are you going to help this person out? How are you going to comfort this person? More so than it was a theology question. That was kind of a in-class example of what I see as one of the major themes of the book of Job. We should not be so focused on telling people what we believe that we actually, insult them or push them away just to say, what we believe is theologically correct. Speak the truth in love. Okay. By the way, hi First Blood. Hope you're doing well. Caught us in a doozy of a conversation, but that happens a lot with Job. Okay. I will move on to verse 22, because I have not missed any translator notes. Okay. Here we go. In the midst of plenty, they will run into trouble and be overcome by misery. Again, still Zophar talking about wicked people. May God give them a belly full of trouble. May God rain down his anger upon them. When they try to escape an iron weapon, a bronze-tipped arrow will pierce them. The arrow is pulled from their back, and the arrowhead glistens with blood. The terrors of death are upon them. Their treasures will be thrown into deepest darkness. A wildfire will devour their goods, consuming all they have left. The heavens will reveal their guilt, and the earth will testify against them. A flood will sweep away their house. God's anger will descend on them in torrents. This is the reward that God gives the wicked. It is the inheritance decreed by God. Still nothing really new here. He spent all these words essentially just talking about the same point of wicked people's wealth and good life being temporary, and eventually God will bring them to justice. I guess that was that last part of God bringing them to justice, I guess, was more so the emphasis in these last few verses here. But yeah, this time it was actually flood that was in there instead of me just misspeaking on the word food. But yeah. In some ways, I think our current day context makes it more glaringly obvious that at least in this life, the descriptions that Job's friends give of what happens to wicked people doesn't really happen so much. I mean, just take a look at some of the wealthiest people out there in the world these days and how selfish and greedy they are. And yet, because of the way the world works, they don't really get, I mean, in a lot of cases, there are plenty of them that don't really get any negative repercussions. And sometimes it's purely because of the fact that they have so much money and can, like, pay off any sort of punishment that they would otherwise incur, that they don't get that. Now, if they really are bad people, eternally, they will not have a good end. But, yeah, that still, the broad generalizations that they don't always apply. All right, Christian Ninja, thanks for hanging around. Hope you have a good night too. But yeah, even in Job's day and age, he's able to acknowledge that there are exceptions to these generalizations that his friends have made. And it's part of the reason that he asks them to either stop talking or say something new. Zophar's not saying anything new. So, yeah. Since it's not really anything new, I don't think I really need to be like Job's friends and keep hammering in the same point over and over. Note from the translators at verse 25 here. Okay, the Hebrew could be read as saying with gall instead of with blood. Blood means there's been, a wound. Gall, not necessarily. That's usually more of like a sickness kind of thing. But either way, bad situation. Yeah. So, at least, eternally, yes. God consistently, rewards, air quote, wickedness with what they rightfully deserve, which is not a pleasant time in heaven. It might not happen so much, in their lifetime on Earth, though, that they, get what they really deserve. So, anyway, yeah. A lot of stuff that's already been said in some way or another. So, there's our second round of Zophar. At least I think that does it for... Yep. Next chapter is Job responding to Zophar. So, we'll see what he says to not really hearing anything new again in the next chapter. Okay. And because I didn't take quite as long with that chapter as I did for the prior one, still wrapped it up before the next ad break hit. So, I suppose unless there's anything else specific that somebody has in mind, like some random exercise to... Okay. Once again, I should have gotten my dice and stuff. But since you very quickly mentioned lurking, I wasn't sure. Okay, give me a sec. Of course, I should have had them anyway, because I'm going to want them on standby for Slay the Spire stuff. And, like, choosing paths and things like that. Okay, come on. Dice are being stubborn and not coming out of the cup thing I have them in. Okie day. There's the exercise list. Okay. So, let us see. I rolled a 5, which is planking on my list. And I'll just take this roll and multiply it by 10, I guess, and that'll be how many seconds. Alrighty. 60 seconds of planking. Okay. I mean, I could just do that now. It has been, you know, the first hour. Give me a bit to get myself set up over here. I guess if I do the straight arm version in particular, there's not so much of a need to get out the exercise mat thing. Okay. I gotta get timer on my phone. Set for 1 minute. Okay. And starting the timer. Oh. Now. Okay. Now, I can never be 100% sure how I'm going to feel about something like this after a full day of work. I mean, really I would say I tend to use my legs more than my arms, but definitely arms are involved. And okay, realistically, maybe I should have used the exercise mat just so my feet don't slip like they kind of are. Oh well, I've got 14 seconds left. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. The straight arm version of that, I will definitely say, for me personally, is less comfortable. Yes, I am good. I appreciate your concern, Sarah. Welcome, by the way. I just... Seth, asked for random exercise stuff, so I was planking. That was... that was what happened there. I was just trying to stick with it, even though it was uncomfortable. Okay. So, I guess I should... yeah, okay. There's the message to pin. There we go. And ads are in progress, so now I can make the transition to slay the Spire stuff. Alright, my controller cord was in an awkward spot relative to my microphone there. Alright. Game is booting up. Background music is being removed. At least from my computer. That background music. Yeah, not gonna lie, the straight arm version of the planking like that really did not feel great on my wrists either. Wonder if the exercise mat would have lessened that as well. Okay, day. So... I imagine we're doing another custom run. I don't know what all y'all might have in mind, but kind of just open to whatever it might be. And... well, let's just say if I don't wrap it up within an hour, and it doesn't seem like it'll be over shortly after that hour is over, then I don't know. I'm still not going to promise that I would continue in a different stream after that. So Snecko, Endless. Not sure Endless would really be needed. Draft. Diverse, Snecko, and Deadly Events. Price Snecko. Where is Diverse? Well, there's Deadly Events. Oh, there's Diverse. Okay. Oh. Game is... This game in particular has major problems with running through my game capture. I don't know why. But okay, I have selected Draft, Endless, Praise Snecko, Diverse, and Deadly Events. As well as, you know, picking the silent character and leaving it on Ascension 0. Give me just a second. I'm gonna try... well, unless I don't need to anymore. See, okay, I'm like, sometimes the glitchiness goes away on its own. I'm real quick gonna try disconnecting game capture and then reconnecting it. Let's do this one. Never really sure if there's a particular attachment to the game capture that would more likely be causing the issue. But I'm not going to sit here and continue to troubleshoot it for a long time. So if that didn't fix it, then, well, too bad. Gonna just continue on with it looking glitchy. So apologies for that. But here I go. Yeah, it's kind of like it never really went away. Alright, I guess I'm rolling for these cards. Yeah. Okay. Roll number 1 is a 5, which gives me third eye. Forgive me for not showing you every single one. I rolled a 6, which gives me Windmill Strike. So far, I've been getting cards from the Watcher here. Another 5. Okay, Charge Battery. Might want to do multiple at a time if you... Well... But then... Like, multiple at a time, I still have to sort through that it's one choice at a time anyway. Signature move, I'm just gonna go quickly. Cleave. Equilibrium. Also, trying to roll multiple through the dice tower isn't guaranteed to work super well. Jeez, I've gotten like 3 or 4 ones in a row. Turbo. 4. Protect. 1. Reflex. 2. Caltrops. 6. Armaments. Another 6. Flame Barrier. 1. Sword Boomerang. Another 1. Thunderclap. Okay. Cards have all been chosen. And we got 4 options for where we start. Hey, I think maybe the glitchiness is gone. One. Okay. Far left path, then. And because of all the effects we have going on already, we're not randomizing card choices in combat, correct? I mean, that's how we did it last time. So, yeah. I'm like, unless I hear otherwise, I'm just gonna go with it. Well, that's not the only attack card in my hand. Well, I mean, Flame Barrier would at least protect me for the turn and deal a little bit of damage back. Or Caltrops and Windmill Strike. Ooh, Sword Boomerang for 0. Yeah. Okay, got 12 gold, a Distilled Chaos, And, right, this is technically 4 options because there's an option to skip the card. It's a D8, which I do not have in my possession. I have D6 and D20, that's it. 3, Bouncing Flask, okay. I mean, yeah, D20 is basically just a multiple of a D4 anyway. I'm not rolling as of yet. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Ooh, hello. Okay, so we have a purifier event. I guess I could just roll odds are remove a card, evens are leave. Okay, this I will show, just as proof. That's a 6. So I am leaving. And another event, and it's a merchant. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 counting the card removal service, 11 counting the option to leave of things that I could do. Yeah. Do not have a D11. Closest I could get would be a random number generator that would go 1 to 11 then. Two D6. Okay, you know what? 2d6 is the same range. Not exact. Well, yeah, because the lowest you could have is 2. Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, and I have rolled 1 and a 4. -1, so yeah. That would be option number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're getting genetic algorithm. Which, as early as we've gotten it, that's actually kind of a good card to have. And I can afford nothing else. So we leave. Now there's 3 path options. 1. Okay. And now there are 3 choices here. Rolling 1d6. And I got a 4. Which means we're removing a card. The question is, which one? 3, 4, 5, 10, 15... yeah, 17. Duh, it shows it in the upper right. 1d20 -3. I guess then 1 through 3 would be rerolls. And I have rolled, if it stays there, yeah. I have rolled an 11. I don't know if y'all could see that, but... Okay, so -3 gives us option 8. 6, 7, 8. So getting rid of turbo then, I guess. No turbo. Okay, battle time. I mean, sure, equilibrium costs nothing. Like, do I really want to retain this hand, though? Bouncing Flask. Gives them poison. Windmill Strike to deal some more damage, I guess. Yeah, I don't need to block. And all the other stuff in this hand kind of costs a lot. So, meh. Oh yeah, Protect stays anyway. Ooh, Third Eye. Gain 7 block and scry 3. Well, that would give me all the block I need for this turn. Since I don't actually know the costs, it's kind of hard to estimate what out of all that I actually want to do. Could gain an extra energy next turn. I wish I could deal more damage after making the enemy vulnerable, but oh well. Or maybe I should just play genetic algorithm so it's better, potentially better at least, in future battles. Am I thinking a little too much about the long play? Maybe. So Windmill Strike's gonna deal 10 damage. Sword Boomerang would deal 12. Honestly, either way, I think the poison kills afterwards. Bye-bye. Okay. 16 gold, a speed potion, and potential card choice. Sentinel, go for the eyes, or prostrate. I'm like, shall I roll the d20 for this, maybe? Wait, what? We're just outright saying one is not an option. What? I'm confused. Normally, we're not just outright excluding something like this, but whatever. So I guess just odds or evens here? I don't know. I rolled a 5. What does that get me? 5. So I guess I'm taking go for the eyes then. Okay. Just making sure we're clear on that. Elite. Well, don't need block. Sword Boomerang is fine. Genetic algorithm, make it better later. Protect will be retained. So, yeah. That's that turn. Okay. Right. It's skills that cause him to get all mad like that. Man. Sorry for the yawn. Now, do I want to... I was just debating on maybe doing armaments on Thunderclap and then using it. But if I don't do that, well, I can use the big one. Yeah, true. So maybe I should upgrade that instead. But yeah, Thunderclap Windmill signature move only uses 2 energy. There's also the option of Caltrops, but that would assume that he ends up attacking a bunch, which we kind of don't want. Or I could also just protect. Yeah, okay. Protecting actually sounds like a good idea. But first, Thunderclap. Windmill Strike. Signature move is going to deal 45. I could armament the signature move, though. Which bumps the base up by 10. So now it's going to deal... Oh! 1 short. Oh well. Yeah. Considering you never really know what's going to happen. Although, in this case, I actually kind of do have an idea with Distilled Chaos. Because there's only 3 cards in the draw pile. You know what? Sure. There aren't too many cases in which it feels safe to use Distilled Chaos. Okay, I got some coins. Regal Pillow. Right. And possible card edition. So piercing will, deflected, steam barrier. Yeah, especially since, especially with the Snecko, most likely making them cost more energy. It's, I guess I could roll a d20 and then just go with multiples of 4. Or whatever. I rolled a 9. So, I guess Piercing Whale. Okay. Moving on. Oh, look at that. Ooh, hang on. Well, if it weren't for the bigger one, I'd be like, ooh, wait, Thunderclap and Cleave could maybe end it on turn 1. But I can gain 13 blocks, so I guess even the fact of that not being enough for both enemies is okay. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. Genetic algorithm to make that better. Sword boomerang. Bouncing flask to make the poison deadly. And that's it. That's all I need to do. Victory. Got a swift potion. Okay, card options are Consecrate, Adrenaline, and Hello World. Two or 3. Okay. Yeah. Told you I was a little tired. So, I rolled a 2. Two is not going to be the greatest now that I think about it. Yeah. So, Hello World it is instead, which is potentially pretty good at, like, any cost anyway. Oh, hello, 2 path options. Do we fight a normal battle or an elite? And Seth got a 2. I guess Seth's doing the path choice rolls at least. Oh, not rolling. You're just saying where you want me to go, I guess. Jeez, okay. Now here's the thing. Piercing Wail would drop the artifact from all of them. And then maybe I could do, like, armaments into Bouncing Flask. Actually, what does an upgraded Sneaky Strike look like? I don't know. You know what? Either way, I'm thinking Piercing Wail first. Then armaments. So Sneaky Strike just increases the damage. Okay. Well, I haven't discarded a turn anyway. I haven't discarded a card this turn anyway. Okay. Bouncing Flask. And then I think I'm going to use Sneaky Strike on the middle one. Because really, if I get rid of the middle one first, then I at least have every other turn that's just completely free of being attacked. And yeah, I know I could have gained more block there, but eh. Okay. I actually got quite a few 0 drops there, which is nice, because I could do with some block. Third Eye. Sure, there's nothing inherently bad about those cards. Caltrops is actually going to be kind of helpful here. Sword Boomerang. Now, I could retain Windmill Strike and have it deal more damage later. Especially since it costs 0. Means it's usable basically any turn. I could protect, but as things stand, I'm only going to take like 4 damage, which isn't terrible. You know what? I think I'm actually gonna wait on all that stuff and retain both of those cards. Okay. I can't really do a ton in the way of attacking. Could do Flame Barrier. I wish there were more low-cost attacks to follow up on this Thunderclap with, but oh well. Okay. You know what? Whatever. Thunderclap. Windmill Strike is actually enough to get rid of the middle one now. Which makes Flame Barrier kinda sorta pointless. And I'm not sure how badly I want to retain this hand. Ooh, go for the eyes. If the enemy intends to attack, apply 1 weak. Okay. Do that. The Bouncing Flask is back. Okay, Sneaky Strike. Well, that one's gone this turn. Genetic Algorithm then gives me almost enough block to not take any damage. I mean, the battle's probably going to be over pretty soon anyway. I might just use Protect. You know, to reduce the end damage that I've taken from the battle. Sure, whatever. Okay, victory. 34 gold. Maw Bank. Right, climbing a floor gains 12 gold. Doesn't work after spending any, though. And we get another Distilled Chaos Potion. Okay. Masterful Stab. Costs 1 additional energy each time you lose HP this combat. And then we got Tranquility and Dagger Throw. I mean, Dagger Throw is definitely not bad. Okay, well, I'll roll a d6 and just, you know, go by 3. Well, I rolled a 1. See there? 1. So I guess I'm taking Tranquility. Which, on its own, doesn't necessarily do a ton. But if I get some other card that would allow me to take advantage of that in some way, then okay. Yeah. Okay. Warpaint. Upon pickup, upgrade 2 random skills. Well, they're already random, so we don't have to choose them. And of course, Tranquility got upgraded. Okay. Another dual path choice. 1 this time. Okay. Another battle. Ooh, hello. 0 cost Flame Barrier right out the gate? Sure. Thunderclap. I guess go for the eyes. Let me use Third Eye just for the scrying. Well, I don't know the cost. I was mostly just gonna... If I got that one card that only does stuff when discarded, I was gonna... Yeah, Reflex. I was gonna just scry that one away. Okay. I mean, I could get enough block for the turn just from protect. Kind of need to deal some damage here. Okay. Got Sneaky Strike costing 0 and so many other things costing more than 0. But, you know what? Between that and Windmill Strike, it's a win. Hooray! Okay. Card possibilities include Wheel Kick, Choke, and Sucker Punch. So 15 damage and draw 2 cards. 12 damage, and whenever you play a card, enemy loses 3 HP. Well, play a card that same turn. And deal 7 damage, apply 1 weak. Any limitations on this? Oh, man. Without any further input, I guess I'll just roll a d20 because, you know, multiples of 4 and whatnot. And, that was, well, that, the little face thingy there is the 20 on this. Now the question is, which one do I want the most? I mean, okay, especially with cost reduction possibilities, Choke could have some rather interesting results. Although so could Wheel Kick with drawing 2 extra cards. That just increases the damage. That increases the damage by subsequent cards played. Huh. My gut said Choke. I'm going with it. Okay. 2 paths here. Getting kind of close to the end of Act 1. Okay, path number 2. And it has me fighting this guy again. Yay. Okay, interesting. Thunderclap to make him vulnerable first. Then Choke. Then Sneaky Strike, I guess. I mean, I don't need block. But that's going to get retained anyway. Let's just go ahead and use Third Eye. I'm potentially fine with those cards, depending on the costs and all of that. So, okay. Go for the eyes costing 2 is annoying. Caltrops. Well, Hello World is a power, so that doesn't make him increase his strength. Do I really care that much about applying weakness? Otherwise, I'm dealing 8 damage instead of only 3. Yeah, I think the damage the difference in the damage I would deal to it is greater than the difference in the damage reduction that I would receive. So, all that to say, I think I'm going with Cleave here. Oh, geez, okay. And surprise, surprise, I've got a bunch of skills in my hand. Okay. Deflect. I mean, I guess equilibrium to gain the block. And then I could deal a total of 16 damage. Or go for 9 poison. But then that also further increases his attack power. Or I could gain even more block and have extra energy next turn. And then still be able to hit with Windmill Strike. Nah, I feel like dealing damage. Hand is full, no kidding. Okay, well, most of the attacks would have ended that right there. Smiling Mask. The merchant's card removal now always costs 50. Okay. Oh, and shoot. You know what? I think I would rather have a fear potion than any of the other ones I've got up there. So, rolling. Okay, so I rolled a 6, which translates to option 3. So I guess I'm getting rid of Distilled Chaos. Okay. Now we got the card options of Rage, Heat Sinks, and Darkness. Yes, I understood that was what you meant, Seth. I just... 2 if you want it, otherwise skip. Well, I mean, given the Snecko... Fine. I'll take it. Just because of the lack of knowing the cost of what we might draw. And since Heat Sinks itself can cost 0... okay, I'll go for the eyes on that one. Because why not? Charge battery gives me an extra energy for next turn. So I guess I'll do that. Okay, what do we got here now? Ugh. 3 cost Tranquility. Why? Alright, you know what? I will do armaments on... So let's see here. That becomes 11 to all. Or I apply a total of 12 poison. I think I'm going to upgrade cleave. Do that. And then... Guess I'll play Equilibrium. And that's enough block for this... Well, more than enough block for this turn. Jeez. Okay, Caltrops. Drew a card because that's a power. Well, shoot. Lots of 2s and 3s. Jeez. I'm like, well, this definitely seems to call for using Third Eye. That's 7 block I've gained. That could bump it up to 16 block, at least. You know, I probably should have used... I mean, it would have been a great situation to use the speed potion, actually. Making them vulnerable doesn't do it. Although... I mean... I'm taking 16 less damage if I get rid of the louse. I was just gonna call it a worm, but I suppose that's not quite the most accurate term. I don't necessarily want to take a chance with the ones that randomly choose targets, so you know what? Thunderclap. Okay, only took 5 damage there. Man. Okay, we'll go for the eyes at least as a 1. Windmill Strike could deal 11 damage. Bouncing Flask, though. Oh, but also, I'm going to take quite a bunch of damage if I don't protect myself a bit. I think it's a decent enough time. Well, if I hold on to Windmill Strike, it's guaranteed to deal enough damage to end it next turn. So, meanwhile, I'll play that to make it better later. And Windmill Strike and I win. Okay. Card options. Acrobatics. Heel Hook. And Armaments. Heel Hook. Right, 5 damage. If the enemy has weak, gain an energy and draw a card. One or two, eh? Okay. I rolled a 4. Which, I mean, if we're excluding the skip option, leaves us with Heel Hook. If we're including the skip option, that's Acrobatics. But I'm kind of taking that to mean the Heel Hook, since you didn't specifically include skip as one of your stated options. So I'm taking Heel Hook. Man. Well, I guess this was the whole point of deadly events. Get into a bunch of extra battles. Okay, well, I kind of like the idea of using armaments. The question is, on what? It was 8 strength. Oh, well, upgrading Hello World doesn't do anything in this context. Could gain more block from equilibrium. Not that I would need it for... I think I'll upgrade equilibrium because I'm probably going to play... Oh. Forgot that I had charged battery as an option. So, you know what? Charge battery. And... Hello World. And they're not attacking this turn. So I'm thinking... Choke on the Jawworm. Go for the eyes. Cleave, I guess. Okay, reflex is still in there. You know what? Let me see what I get from acrobatics. Darn it. That's not quite what I was hoping for. And you know what? I might actually discard protect to hopefully get it at a reduced cost later. And then I suppose Windmill Strike. Yeah, Jawworm is gone. Of course, the slime keeps making me frail. Oh well. Thunderclap. Sword Boomerang. And... shoot, Bowling Bash does enough. Okay. Well-laid plans. Retain up to 1 card. Sweeping Beam. 6 damage to all. Draw 1 card. Pummel. Deal 2 damage 4 times. And exhaust. Or maybe skip. I don't know. Okay, so any of the 3 card options. Not going to include skipping in this. And I rolled a 3, so pummel. Okay. We got an elite or a regular battle right before a rest. I'm going to guess that we're going for the elite, because the point of this was to not make it last terribly long. And that would be the best chance at a preemptive end. Oh, that's right. There is possibly no rest. Well, I can never assume. You know what? No idea why I chose the elite. Okay. Well... do I use piercing wail like I did against these guys last time. Honestly, kind of thinking yes. The problem then becomes the amount of damage I'm about to take. Or just the fact that I'm about to take any damage, really. Oh, still, that's 20 damage to that enemy just this turn. Ugh. Heal hook costs 3. At least protect is 0 this time around. Oh, and so is third eye, and... Okay. Let me... use armaments on sword boomerang. Then use sword boomerang. And now, let's see here. Third eye puts me at 12 block. I'd still be taking 7 damage. Okay. Free heat sinks, sure. Free caltrops, sure. Free bouncing flask, sure. And then this is where it gets tricky. Oh man. It stinks that these two cost so much. I think I'll just go with Equilibrium then. Or, sorry, not Equilibrium. What did I just play? Charge battery. Yeah, that's the one. Ooh, free armaments. Might use that on Windmill Strike. Okay, Sword Boomerang is an option. Sure. Okay, you know what? I think this is an appropriate turn to use Protect. And you know what? I realize the middle one is not currently attacking me, but it would next turn. Okay. Jeez. All sorts of low-cost stuff here. I'll take the extra energy for next turn. Don't really want to retain this hand. So there goes that. Okay, go for the eyes. Choke. Heal hook. Win. I don't think I took too much damage there. Ooh, sweet. 10 more max HP. You know what? I think I'm actually gonna say no thanks to the fire potion. Oddly enough. Okay, card choices. We have Slice, Sunder, and Storm of Steel. And Seth wants Storm of Steel. Okay. I do. You're recommending that I take the potion? Because, I mean, okay. Yeah, okay, we've got ads running, which means... Well, I would say which means time to maybe set up for exercise, but then again, maybe that could wait until after we're done with the... Well, with this act, at least. And, well, I guess once the ads are done, the first thing I should roll for is this, and whether I'm gonna end up healing or not. Okay. Yeah, and I wanted to wait to do the roll for this until the ads were done. So... 50-50. Rest or no rest. Well, rest or Smith. And I have rolled a 2. Which means... smithing, which means upgrading something, but it's not something of my choice necessarily. Because I guess we're going to randomize that too. 5, 10, 15, 20, 23 options. I do not have a D23. I mean, 23 cards, yes. Could just do a random number generator between 1 and 23. Roll 1d20 and 1d4. I don't... Yeah, I'm like, I don't have a d4 though, so I guess I would just... re-roll the 20 and go, you know, with increments of 4. All right, well, you know what? I will roll the d20 once first. And that came up as a 3. And then... Okay, so what would rolling a 20 on the second roll mean? Obviously 20 on a d20. And just as proof, there's the... Yeah. Well, hold up. That might have rolled over to 13. It was definitely the 20, though. Oh, geez. Now, which one of these would I pick, then? I mean, armaments is always kind of a good default, because then it upgrades everything in your hand. Storm of Steel would then add Shiv pluses instead of regular Shivs. 2 extra damage on those. Go for the eyes, does more damage and 1 more turn of weakness. Yeah, I think I'm just going to default to good old armaments. Okay. Boss time. Let's see what happens here. Sword boomerang, I suppose. I don't need the block, but extra energy next turn would be nice. Sword boomerang. Cleave, I guess. So maybe shouldn't have done that. Oh well. And do I want to keep Hello World in my hand to potentially play that next turn? Let's see here. Still not being attacked. Interesting. Okay. I do think that makes it a good opportunity to play Hello World. And yeah, pummel at that cost ain't worth it. Oh, why not, I guess. Well, although eventually when it splits, the caltrops could be helpful, but Sneaky strike. Four damage for each channeled orb. Well, that doesn't help me. I don't have any channeled orbs. Haha, now I could just immediately use Storm of Steel and then have a ton of shivs in my hand. But also, 0 cost Flame Barrier and Heat Sinks and Heal Hook. So, like, some decent options. Protect, because why not? And then you know what? Sure, why not? Upgrade everything else and whenever it comes around later, it'll be better. Ouch. Let's see here. Ooh, choke. Yes, definitely do that first. Although, maybe should have done Thunderclap first, darn it. Okay, well, whatever. Windmill Strike. Iron Wave. And then I have Signature Move available. Jeez. And suddenly, Slime Boss is dead before it even splits. That was a major single turn turnaround there. Okay. So, card options include Unload, Core Surge, and Scrawl. What, one or three? Why don't you like number 2? Whatever. And I have rolled a 3. Which is actually the first one in this case, because we're limiting it to 2 options. So, unload. Wrist Blade. Attacks that cost 0 deal 4 additional damage. Huh. 2. What are we considering 2? The Runic Dome? Oh, geez. Yeah, no longer seeing enemy intents. I could see what you mean by that. Yeah, I'm gonna assume you mean the Runic Dome. Jeez. Yeah. Now I'm really hoping this doesn't last a whole lot longer, because, I still have an exercise to redeem. Or I guess we could say, okay, cutting it off there for tonight, and then we pick that up again later, like some other day. Okay, anyway. To be quite frank, no, I do not want to keep going. I am tired. Okay. But exercise has been redeemed, so I will definitely stick to that. Rolled a 1, which is Invisible Chair. Okay. The other timed thing. So I guess now rolling for... Okay. Rolled a 4 there, so I guess 40 seconds. Alright. Now, for this, I'm going to slip on some different footwear in hopes that my position along the wall will be a bit steadier. So, give me a few seconds for that. Actually, these shoes right here should probably do the trick. Considering These are my work shoes, and they're specifically supposed to be slip resistant. Not going to tie them though, because I'm not going anywhere. Okay. And then go to the timer. Need to set that for 40 seconds. Alright. Get myself in position here. Okay. Timer has been started. So yeah, I definitely do not feel like continuing with our Slay the Spire run after this. I realistically should also get a shower after I'm done with tonight's stream. So, especially with that in mind, I would like to wrap things up fairly soon here. And timer is done. Also, yeah, that went way better with work shoes on. Didn't feel even close to slipping. Alrighty. So yeah, I am saving and quitting Slay the Spire. We'll pick that up some other time. Okay, let me clear my own way here a little bit. Alrighty, let's figure out somebody to raid. Since I'm wrapping things up. Yeah, so upcoming streams. Tomorrow is going to be Borderlands 4, side missions in Carcadia Burn. Next week, meaning like a week from today, will be Job 21 and 22 and probably Power Wash Simulator. Unless we're really itching to continue this. You know, the Slay the Spire run that we've started. Well, will that be the case? Yeah. Okay. Because next week is not Gems of War week yet. So yeah. And then a week from tomorrow, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. I guess specifically we're continuing with like kind of birth by sleep memories. Okay, so options, at least from among channels I follow, include somebody playing Marathon, Fedorable Will is doing something called Thinkology, although it's the category is talk shows and podcasts. Of course, we got somebody playing Fortnite, a couple of people just chatting, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14 online, Fall Guys, Warrior of Lights playing Forza Horizon 6, somebody else playing Pragmata. Got Overwatch. Subnautica 2. Lots of options to choose from as far as the games that people are playing. Unless there are any particular thoughts that anybody in the chat has. I was kind of thinking we might raid. Missed at least one. Well, I mean, there were some repeats. I didn't see Mama Catch. Am I not following Mama Catch yet? I also don't see Yoshi OST. Yeah, Aki and fam are playing Destiny 2. I just mentioned the things that were being played. Not necessarily the particular streamers. Mama Catch is doing Disney Dreamlight. You know what? Let me see if I could... Picto pull. Yeah. I was filtering at first just, by the channels I follow, because otherwise most of the suggestions would be people playing Slay the Spire. All right, well, I'm usually pretty down for raiding somebody new. Yeah, and I'm like, if I'm not following them, that means I haven't raided them. Oh, yeah, unpin, because we did the exercise. Well, I did the exercise. Anyway. All right, so unless something goes weird, I guess we're raiding Mama Catch. Okay. So that's going to do it from me for tonight. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another stream. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. Whatever ends up happening. Hope you all have a good time. Those of you who are in the U.S. at least, I know Memorial Day is on Monday, so hope you have some good plans for that. But, yeah, whatever ends up happening, until the next time I see y'all, stay cool, everybody.